Welcome to the Biocharisma podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Gardner. Today we have David Weiss, aka Flat Earth Dave, to talk about cosmology. David kind of saved me from a stupor, the stupor of the vacuum of space in 2016. I had him on my podcast a few months beforehand, and then he had sent me a message that I should check out this thing that he and Sophia Smallstorm and Mike Wilkerson, the Sage of Quay, were all looking at, and I checked it out, and needless to say, I've never looked back. And David Weiss has been one of these tour de forces when it comes to flat smacking people. And I just got to meet him in person in Acapulco, which was wonderful. The guy exudes energy. He exudes this consistent questioning. And unlike some people that have made their brand like their being, he has this humility about him in person that I really appreciated. Like, I can tell that he is definitely somebody that doesn't have all the answers, but is coming from an apophatic way of learning. And to be apophatic is to know what things aren't. And usually you're safer about knowing what something isn't and knowing what it is. So I really appreciate Dave's mind. I appreciate where he's taken the flat Earth movement as a whole. He's wrestled with some gargantuans out there and won. So I really appreciate that, and I just love his spirit. He's the consummate salesman, but he's the consummate researcher, a very good entrepreneur, and he's just a breath of fresh air when it comes to energy. So enjoy the podcast, and I'll see you on the flip side.
All right, I'm having a little problem with my contrast, but I seem to be there. I was fading out a minute ago.
It's because your future's so bright, man. You're like you're blotting out the internet.
First time I wore a bright yellow shirt. It's a new shirt I made. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. It goes well with your tan Acapulco biceps.
I'm so bright. I'm kind of white. I'm not liking this light at all. Hold on a second. Maybe I can make this a little better. All right, whatever.
Come on, man. You're the profession in this duo right now.
It's all right. I've got my notes from NASA on how to pull all this off, so we're good to go.
Perfect. Well, Dave, I wanted to ask you this, or I wanted to tell you this. You know, you've introduced me to two of my favorite internet people of all time.
Who would that be?
Sophia Smallstorm. I knew about her before 2016, but a message from you to listen to you and her, and I think it was Eric Dubay, talk about the flat Earth. That changed my life forever.
It wasn't Eric Dubay, but
it was
me and Sage of Quay.
Sage of Quay, Mike Williams, and Sophia Smallstorm. The three of you discussing that, because I had you on the podcast before that. You guys did that like 4 or 5 months later, and it destroyed me. And then in 2018 or 2019, you sent a message saying, check out this Owen Benjamin guy. He's losing his mind over the flat Earth. And I checked him out, and from that on, I've been hooked, like just laughing my ass off.
Yeah, I made a compilation of him. He went through what we all went through, but he did it live on the air.
Yes.
On the app, if you just type in Owen Benjamin, YouTube has been taking down all of my videos with Owen Benjamin. Just like they're all gone, right? These blank ones are YouTube takedowns, but I have them up from other platforms, and I'm getting them loaded back on. But his Flat Earth Awakening is epic. It's one of the best.
It was awesome. It was awesome because you're right. What he was going through emotionally was what I felt internally that I couldn't share with anyone in my peer group. And so it was a great catharsis for me to watch him go through the intellectual turmoil and the heartbreak of losing the hope of space.
The best was when he's trying to figure it out, and he realized it's hopeless. And he goes, can somebody please? And he's like, F, and he throws his beer across the room. He's so pissed. He's like, can somebody just give me one good excuse? And that's a man that can think, right? But we all go through that. It's that ripping out of our childhood. Our childhood. Think about it.
Yes.
Everything in our childhood is based around is space,
Hmm.
and it's all taken away. But then after you go through the depression, after you go through the okay, I got to deal with this, then it's way better. Outer space is more fun because it's right here. It's right here on flat Earth.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, this is, I mean, how wonderful. Because when I was going through this, when I watched that podcast that you, Mike Williams, and Sophia did, my brain literally melted. I was in a foreign country where I didn't speak their language, and I couldn't like talk to anybody about it. And so for me, it was just one of those real pivot moments in my life of being like, where am I putting my hope? Where have I actually anchored my intellectual pride and hope? And it was I thank you so much for going down that path.
All right. Well, I get that from a lot of people, and it's awesome, and that's my goal. That's why I do this. That's why I literally walked away from everything I worked for in my entire life. I went to college, got in corporate America, started my own business. I did everything you're supposed to do.
Hmm.
And I walked away from it all to talk to people like you and everybody else to wake them up to this most important, you know, deception, the globe deception. People are
Hmm.
like, what difference does the shape of the earth make? The shape doesn't matter. It's the lie that matters. It's the thing that allows them to get away with all of the other nonsense they're getting away with. All
Yeah.
flat earthers are awake and aware to the deception of this world, and they've lost power over us. And if everybody woke up to the flat earth, all the other atrocities would stop. All
Hmm.
of it would stop because people would be like, wow, we're at the center of creation, where this place is built for us. We have great power. Our minds, create our reality. Our imagination creates our reality. That's why they want to keep us in fear and in a sphere of lack, a sphere of there is no more. There's
Right.
nothing left to discover, Truman. Right? That's the most important line in
Hmm.
the Truman Show, and that's we're literally in that scenario. So when you wake up to this extended plane, to the infinite possibilities, to the abundance that's truly here, to the God-given birthright that we have, um, all of the chains come off.
Yes, absolutely. So this podcast is primarily a cosmological podcast.
Okay.
And I actually want to talk about the cosmological significance of shifting from, like you said, this universalist, this Catholic way of saying, okay, it's an inversion, right? So Catholic, a lot of people don't know that means universal, but that also means in a geometry, that's a sphere. That's actually how it's represented in geometry. If you're going to give something infinite angles, that give an object infinite angles, it will be a sphere.
Okay.
So we have, let's just call it the Western Roman Catholic paradigm says, okay, the Earth. We as Catholics say the Earth is a sphere. And now your only way to connect with the heavens is through us. They own all well the biggest telescopes that there are, right? So like what's their largest telescope called? The Lucifer.
Lucifer. Yeah, the acronym is so convoluted, but it spells out Lucifer. I mean, they go to great lengths, but all of the biggest telescopes in the world are owned by the Vatican, and they're all in the deep south, looking south, not
Right,
up. They're
right.
looking out, away from the center.
So let's explain this, because south essentially means like we can see your flat earth model back here,
Yeah.
and where the numbers are is south. The numbers delineate the white line, the white ring, the circumference of this is south.
Yeah,
So
here's my new compass. I've created a new compass, new wall compass.
I want I
North
want I
center.
want that compass
Did you
because
see Owen Benjamin has one on his wall?
I
I
did
I
not.
sent him one. I sent him
Oh,
one.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this about me. I didn't have a chance to tell you, but I've worked with high level magnetics. And so when you posited that this is the model of the earth, where the south is on the outside and the north is in the middle, it immediately reflected on my work with what's called radially sintered magnets. And a radially sintered magnet is a ring magnet that's a circle where all the direction of the electrocution when they're making the magnet goes towards the north, goes towards the middle. And the entire outside of the magnet is a south. And so my mentor in magnetics, Floyd Sweet, he was very big in describing to people that, hey, look, a ring magnet is really where the magic is at, because when you have all these multipolar points, like if you have an infinite circle, like a circle they say is 360 degrees. So you have all these 360 degrees of lines of force concentrating on dead center where you have that N in the middle.
Yeah.
Guess what happens when you flip that so that it's horizontal?
Tell me.
There's a secondary north that's above, that's plasma. It's called scalar north. And that's exactly where our pole star is.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, the farther south you go, the farther towards Antarctica, compasses work worse and worse. If the Earth was a sphere, the compass wouldn't work on the equator because it would be like, which way should I go? There's two poles pulling me. Get
Right.
a bar magnet and play with a compass. You'll see it only works when there's one. So, as our North Pole, as our magnetic north is on the center, maybe our south is below it.
No,
Below,
the south.
below.
So this is the thing. People don't understand. Every magnetic pole is actually, it has a dominant singular, like the dominant. So let's say in this example, the N represents the north. That north is the dominant one. That will have a secondary scalar north above it, but there will be a subservient southern pole right next to it. And that's why when they're measuring, they say, oh, the pole is shifting, and they'll measure a magnetic anomaly. It's because people don't know that every North Pole has a subservient South Pole, and every South Pole has a subservient North Pole. And so the anomaly is just when they're measuring the lesser of the two, and it shifts the lines of force. The first imaging that they ever did of magnets is, it looks so similar to when they say, oh, there's this drift where, the North Pole when we were kids was over Canada and now it's over Siberia. I bet you all they're showing, it's a truth drop if you know anything about magnetics. What they're actually showing is that there's they're giving attention to the secondary aspect of the primary pole.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Need to know more.
it's a lot of fun to study when you look into high level magnetics where they're not just using iron filings, because when you use an iron filing, now all those little filings are now miniature magnets. So you're not seeing a
Yeah.
true magnetic field, you're seeing how lots of little magnets interact with each other.
Have you
But
seen somebody took a magnet, put it underneath a flat Earth map, the AE map, and then sprinkled filings on it, and they all pointed towards the center, and then there was a gap right where the equator should be, and then the other ones lined up on the other side of that.
oh, that's cool. Do you know what type of magnet they used?
I neodymium magnet. I'm not sure what size or anything, but there's a couple short videos on it. I'm trying to gather more information, but I'm going to try it myself, see what happens.
Yeah, for you, where you could have some fun, and it would probably be worth your while. They cost a lot of money, but get yourself a radially sintered neodymium ring magnet.
How
And,
big?
well, it depends how big your model is.
Okay.
They get expensive. Like to give you an
Yeah,
example,
I know.
1 inch outer diameter with a 3/4 inch inner diameter. When I was buying them, they were around $500-600 a piece.
I'm afraid to go into. I bought some of those magnets getting bigger and bigger. Man, those things are dangerous.
They're super dangerous. They'll take
Super
a
dangerous.
finger off.
Yeah,
They'll break all your electronics if you have any mobile
I know.
electronics.
They're so crazy. They're nuts.
So the original question was about cosmology, because this is magnificent when you go from this Catholic, this universal sphere where you have to go through the vicar of Christ, who is the Pope, because God is somewhere way out there, to now kind of understanding we're kind of in this earth domain that is, it's enveloped. We're not saying, like, for those of you who are new to this concept, we're not saying the earth is like has this massive downward force and is going through space. It's literally the earth plane as I understand it. I'm not projecting this onto you. You tell me if you concur. The earth plane to me is the physical. And then what's outside of the physical is the metaphysical.
100%. I agree with that totally. We're just here on this, on the densest, electric dielectric plane in this toroidal field.
Right.
And that's all we can survive. When I was a kid, they were doing test flights at high altitudes, and some of these pilots were being interviewed, and they were letting these interviews out. And I remember one of the pilots said that he lost consciousness, he could see through his eyelids, all like crazy stuff was going on when you get that far away from this electrical base that we live on. We live on the top side of this dielectric plane. And that's where we live. We're electrical beings. All of this, everything here is electrical, and we need to be plugged in at some point. I mean, when you get up, I don't know how high it is. Is it 80,000 feet where you get things start freaking out? I don't know.
Well, it's kind of cool. I had my very first dome client that I built for. He flew Gulfstream 8s, and Gulfstream 8s, their cruising altitude is 42,000 feet. And when you crack the flat earth code, I started to talk to him immediately, because he's like higher than any commercial jet.
But still, according to mainstream science, it's not nearly half as high as you need to be. You need to be 3 times higher than that, and you still can't see it, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, it was ridiculous. He was glitching out when I was asking him, and I just said, James, just take a picture. All I want is a picture. Just take a picture from 42,000 feet. And Dave, that thing was flat.
Yes.
There is nothing.
Well, that's because the earth is so big, you can't see far enough. You're a microbe on a basketball. Come on, man.
So
quick thing, back to this. North, right? South is every direction away from north. Makes sense. Put a magnet down, get a compass, and move it any direction away from it. South is just going away from the center. Very basic concept. When I first came out with my circumnavigation video, which was this one right here, I got my magnet and I was showing how east and west are circles. A lot of people just never put that together. Now I think everyone understands that, at least in the flat earth world. Globers are still confused. Even though it's the same on a globe, east and west are circles. If you were a mile from the North Pole on a globe, you would have to maintain your mile distance and walk in a circle to head east or west, get right back to where you started from. So where the point I was going to make on this is, so I forgot I had a good point, but it slipped me. But going back to
you were talking about how the north, you were originally showing how north is dead center, the south, you're showing this right here.
Yeah, north, but this makes perfect sense on a flat earth, and all of our observations go with this. Like, nobody has ever circumnavigated south and ended up over here. If you go south, you don't come back, right? No matter which way you go. So it's pretty interesting. Hey, by the way, anybody that knows somebody or has a connection or that can make these out of metal, mass produce them at a reasonable price, contact me. I'm trying to make these. I was trying to get them made. So people, they're awesome. I have one on my wall right over here, and they're everybody wants them, but they cost too much to make one-offs.
You know what? Because I build domes, I know lots of welders, so I'll ask.
But hand welding this whole thing together, you need one of those guys that has a laser cutter and that could just put it on auto and do 50 at a time.
Well, I also am really good friends with a person who owns a stainless steel manufacturing company, so I'll get you in touch with them.
Yeah, that just a connection, that would be awesome, because and ideally somebody that would make them and drop ship them, so I could just place the order and they could like, okay, order, press a button, make another one of these, ship it out. There you go. Listen, I don't even want to make any money on them. I just want people to make them. Whoever does it, they can make the money. I'll do the marketing. They can make the money. I don't care. I just want people to have them.
So I have some questions because I have many clients in Australia and New Zealand.
They don't
And
exist. Australia doesn't exist. So you have fake clients.
I couldn't say that. I'm over 50 clients from Australia, so I can't make that claim.
Sounds like a money laundry to me. Go
I
ahead.
know they exist. So my clients down under, they
Out
have
over. Out
what's that?
over. They're
What's
out
that?
over. They're
I
not
know.
down under. They're out over.
We get the mind control. So they there I've seen so many things where like if the sun was actually moving along this track,
Mhm.
and with this particular model here of this is called the azimuthal equidistant map, correct?
Correct.
You wouldn't have the shadowing effect that they get there if this model was correct. I've
What do you
seen
mean the shadowing effect? You mean the night and day, twilight and darkness?
the angles of the shadows.
I don't understand. Well, so that's also assuming we have a physical sun in the sky that we all see it in the same place. I don't think any of that is real.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I wanted to get to
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm of the opinion that the sun is not actually a physical
Physical.
thing.
The sun that we see. There may be a
Exactly.
physical sun, the source
Right.
of that energy. But as the sun moves inward, you have more of a circle, right? As it moves towards the Tropic of Cancer. But as it moves outwards, the light wraps around the sphere, and you get this longer daylight in Ushuaia and in Antarctica, and it goes all the way to the point where it'll go it'll wrap around and make the light go all the way around.
So
Um,
you're under the impression with this particular model that we are actually in a dome. You're saying my business model is to copy God as a dome builder.
well, I do believe that we're in some sort of dome that's over our pond. I
Okay.
also no evidence, no lots of evidence, no proof. Me, David Weiss, not speaking for the flat Earth community, I think there's more lands, possibly more ponds beyond our pond. And
Yes.
I think that when God talks about the firmament, it's the firmament over all of the ponds.
Ah.
And now we may have our own little dome here. The entire thing might be called Earth. This little pond might be called Earth. I don't know, but there's lots of evidence that there's more lands. It could be something completely different. Right? This is showing this is the day and night on the day and night finder, whatever it's called. But you see how it wraps around when it goes
Mhm.
out, it wraps around, and look, the same thing happens here when it's using a little light on a dome.
Right.
So interesting similarities. And then when we're talking about not seeing the sun, the actual sun, this is a little experiment that I did. That um so I separated my room with a sheet. I got a light about 10 feet away on the other side. It was actually a square light, but it looks kind of circular.
Mhm.
And Paige is off to my over here. And I said, "Where do you see the sun?" We're going to call that the sun. And she let me move over to where she is, and she sees it right here. So if I quickly put a little X on the sheet right there, so she sees the sun over there. At the same time, I see it right there. We're
Mhm.
both seeing the same thing in two different positions.
Right. Right. So you might be the only person that saw this same video that I saw back in 2018. Did you see the video where the three solar scientists on the three different continents, they mapped the solar arc for 1 year and then fed it into a supercomputer? Did you ever see that
And
video?
yeah, that was I think that was what was the name of the group? I forget. There was a group that set themselves up as a nonprofit. It's based on it'll come to me in a second. I'm sure everyone listening
I
that is screaming it, but
I
it was very cool, very cool. It's in some of my videos. I just don't know which
I
ones.
need that video because in that video they evidence the fact that what you just said is that you two could be standing right next to each other and your point of reference to the point source of light
It's
because
different.
is different.
Yeah,
And 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 we know that the sun is point source light. people don't understand that it's not an incandescent bulb up there, even though we're receiving heat.
Right.
If it was an incandescent bulb where we were receiving heat, Victor Schauberger said, why, when you travel towards it, do you get colder? Tesla said the same thing. If it was just this big burning ball, thermonuclear ball producing
Hotter
heat,
and hotter. The
you would get.
Goldilocks zone, dude. Come on. We're in the Goldilocks zone.
But even just traveling in a plane, you go up, a few thousand feet, you're cold, right? You could go
Yeah.
in a direct line towards the sun because it takes an hour to traverse 15 degrees. Very easy to get to it from your point of reference, and you get colder. So it's not incandescent light, it's called point source light. So
Right.
it's more like a laser beam. And once you start to understand that, and everybody is having their own point source moment with it.
So watch this. This is the real sun, and then this is our dome that's over us. So this person would see the sun right there. This one would see the sun right there, and this person would see the sun right there. That's where they see it on their dome. Next time you're out on a sunny day on the highway in a parking lot and the sun's up pretty high in the sky, look at all the cars, and each car will have a little sun inside their car in the windshield. You'll see a sun in each car.
Mm-hmm.
We just ignore it, like, oh, it's a glare. But there's a sun in each car. So we all are in our own personal atmospheric dome. That's the way I see it. And that's kind of provable because we can all see a certain distance in all directions, farther higher than sideways because the air gets thinner. So you have a kind of a dome that's higher than wider. And that's how we see.
I
I mean, that's
totally
provable.
I totally concur with that. So what do you think was happening with the Prague clock? Because to me, one of the most incredible pieces of art that's still left from the old world is the Prague clock. And where it shows like there's this shifting of the world ages. I mean, that at least that's what I'm assuming. Nobody has come out and proved it. But like this internal, like if we were to superimpose the azimuthal equidistant and put it, right there, and then you have this shifting world age. I'm an astrologer, so all these signs, like when you look at these signs are actually, if you were to measure the daylight during the day, this is actually accurate to the amount of daylight you receive during those. Like that's incredible that they actually did that. And then to have this larger plane behind us, I mean, is this what explains all these different world ages? It certainly makes sense to me.
It certainly makes sense. A little stuff they're discovering in Antarctica. I mean, maybe 13,000 years ago, this was all frozen, and the other side of Antarctica was where everybody lived.
Right.
I don't know. Needs a lot more investigation, but there's a lot of evidence. But here's a little interesting fact. Prague is a very historic town, city. And if you want to change literally a light post in your yard, you got to go through 12 different committees, historical committees. You got to get everyone to sign off. No one can change anything without going through a lot of, town hall paperwork, right? They're trying to preserve it. Except the clock, nobody knew without telling anybody. They changed it from this to this. No notice, no nothing, no discussion. They just changed it to a globe. Some people say this is a globe because if you look at it really close, I can't zoom in. There are lines on it, but I think those are it's just lines of longitude and latitude. Think about it. Flat Earth, longitude and latitude, X and Y. Globe Earth, it should be a Z axis also.
Yes.
There should be a Z axis, but there isn't. Everything is X and Y, and they literally wrap that around a globe, and that's how we got here. So the fact that they changed it, here's the old one,
Mm-hmm.
And didn't say anything. I don't know. That's just another one when what we call a preponderance of evidence.
And they use such horrible colors too. Like that first one, the colors, they work so well.
Yeah.
Just from an aesthetic perspective. And then of course they had to throw red in there because red tells the mind to stop. Stop thinking. That red blue paradigm that's in
Yeah.
so much of the current day is just so egregiously gross. So when you saw the video of those three, what's a solar scientist called, by the way? Do you know the name of that?
Solar scientist and an astronomer.
No, ones that just study the movement of the Helios.
Are you going to tell me as a test question?
No, I forgot the name. I was wondering if you
An
knew offhand.
astrologer, astronomer, something different than that.
So in that video that I was talking about from 2018, when they actually mapped the arc, they found that the personal arc
Yeah.
where they could get any accuracy was only 13 miles. And when they plugged that into their supercomputer and had the supercomputer map it, they all became believers in God. Not necessarily Christians, but they immediately saw this mandala like energetic pattern where essentially the sun in and of itself was relative to each person's axis mundi. When I saw that, it was only like a 23-minute or 24-minute long video. It was so astonishing, and it was off YouTube like within, I don't even know how many months it was on YouTube. It was gone.
So the one with the animation and showing all the full year of the sun, it's on a channel called Decimal Z. Look that
De-
up.
Decimal
Dec
Z.
Decimal Z,
You are
and you'll be able to find it there.
awesome. You are the man. So back in the day, I had when I was studying Victor Schauberger, I was looking into a lot of the technology that he was forced to give to the Nazis, essentially. And I was reading a bunch of Nazi scientists about essentially their ether physics cosmology, because their ether physics cosmology did not have anything to do with the Einsteinian relativity cosmology.
Huh?
And in that, I threw the book out immediately because I wish I would have kept it, because in it they were essentially saying that we live essentially in a Swiss cheese universe where this envelope, like you're talking about, this is our little pond, our little puddle that we're in. And that in their model, the way you get to the other puddles was you actually had to change your frequency range to match the frequency range of the other hole in the Swiss cheese. And then what we were calling space to them was solid. And that makes sense mathematically, because when you have nothing but potential, that would be felt to us as a solid. Like when you have infinite potential, that's solid. When and we actually occupy space. Like I'm watching you move around and act, and you can see me move around. We're technically in the space. We're in the pocket, right? So that blew my mind, but at the time I was brainwashed in NASA's lies. I think I was reading that in 2008, so I paid it no mind. I threw the book out. I wish I still had it. Do you what's your model of ether? Do you ever talk about ether physics? Do you have any thoughts on that, like the going from like the sympathetic vibratory physics or ether physics model to like a model dealing with Einsteinian relativity?
I like listening to people talk about it because it's a little bit above my pay grade to fully understand it. So, do you follow Austin Whitsitt at all?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he does some great stuff on the app. If you go to the homeschool section and click the schooling Globers, so it's not going to open up here, or maybe it will. You click that. He's got a full course, I believe, on Ether. At least one of them are on the Ether, and you got to listen to it a couple times.
Yes. Yes.
He's one of the smartest guys out there. I don't know how he got his knowledge, but it's awesome, and he's a real asset to the flat Earth community.
I love his work. I've
Yeah.
reached out to him, and I totally want to converse with him um, about so many different things, not just with the flat Earth, but just with where I get excited when looking at resonance and harmonics is in the sympathetic vibratory physics realm, which is it's just a rebranding of ether physics. That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, this world is beyond what I can imagine. Okay. I was watching something the other day about how all of the pyramids are a different note on a scale,
Mhm.
and together they create a chord and a harmonic, and who knows what that did? Who knows? And
Yeah,
then yeah, the giant bells I'm also fascinated with. I saw one that was so big. I saw one it had to be 30, 40, 50 feet wide. It was like, what happened to all these bells?
oh,
You know what happened to the bells? They took them because they needed them for ammunition for World War One or World War Two.
incorrect. Incorrect.
Oh, that's not good. That's what they said. I remember that's the story.
No, there's a whole science that was used with land and let's call it land modification instead of weather modification. Let's just use land modification. The bell shape, when you connect the bell shape to cylinders that go very deep down into the ground, you can hit a tone in a bell up in a tower, and the vibration, when it works its way down those tubes, creates ELFs, extremely low frequencies. When you shoot ELFs into the ground, there's two ways that you can weaponize it. One, you can create a resonant pattern with an ELF. That's how we have man-made earthquakes and liquefaction. Another thing that you can do is let's say you're holding a similar model like a tuning fork of those cylinders that are going down into the ground, and you actually are holding that in your hand, and you go out into battle, and it's just a smaller model. So it's like a smaller tuning fork relative to a bigger tuning fork, but they're tuned to the same exact frequency. When I go out into the field into battle, and I have that little, let's just call it a fasces right under my arm. How much military heraldry have you seen in your life where they're carrying a fasces with them into battle?
I
How
don't know, a lot.
how many pictures of Caesar, George Washington, all these historical figures as they're going out into battle, what are they carrying? Or they have their minstrels behind them carrying a fasces. Why do you have George Washington with his hands at the Washington Monument? What does he have under his hands? He has two fasces. What's Abraham Lincoln carrying? He's carrying a fasces. You see fasces in all the heraldry of the war. Let's just say all the countries that really kick butt in war. So the technology, we've had frequency technology, ELF frequency technology here forever. I'm going to send you this video from Stephanie McPeak Peterson. She is a professional when it comes to anything that's dealing with sonic, like things that you can hear, vibrational physics. And she just did this whole expose on the bells relative to, let's just call it, these very large cylinders going into the ground. It is amazing. And it's one of these things where I always wondered as a kid, you see all all these people going to war, and they would always have their minstrels.
So what would they do with that? How do they
You go
activate
to
it?
war and you could literally create a liquefaction event. You can get all your enemies stuck in mud. Like if you had the correct tuning, and let's say you were like, within a few miles of the biggest bell in the land, and your fasces was tuned to the big fasces that was underneath the bell. Like, why did they take all the organs out of the cathedrals? Not just
Right.
get it healed, but also it's a weapon. Like you depend.
So my question is the excuse to get rid of all the bells.
It's they don't want anybody to know about the
We
orbital
we know that, but they had to come up with an excuse to sell to the public. And I heard the excuse was they needed the metal to make bullets.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
that's
think that's utter garbage.
I think it's utter garbage too, but it's an excuse. I mean, maybe they use the utter garbage excuse.
You're right. They did use that excuse. I heard that excuse too. I'm just so
Yeah.
excited about now this because I in my mind's eye, I'm like, what was this preoccupation with big bells, huge flags and flagpoles and fasces? You see those three things in all war heraldry.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
it's because it was part of a system that they had that we're not told about. I mean, we're told that we're the pinnacle of technological innovation.
No, we're not. We're in the middle of the movie Idiocracy. We're approaching the end.
So let's shift gears here. What happened to your personal consciousness when you really came to the recognition that, hey, we are actually the center of the universe? Like what happened for you on a personal level?
So, my life, I was always a good person, I mean, maybe I did a couple stupid things as, teenager and whatever. And I did okay in school. I did well. And I went to work for nice good companies, worked my way up every company I went through. I did well. And I thought I had, I got married, I had kids, and I thought I had a world view, but literally my consciousness was in a ball.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started breaking out of that, asking questions and looking at things and going, I'm not buying that, and like, but everyone else agrees, everyone else thinks that's true. I'm like, I'm not everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And then Flat Earth came in, and I finally looked at that because of Sophia, by the way. Sophia is the one that woke me up to Flat Earth. And once you see that, my consciousness changed. I think it's so much bigger. I think before it was a grape, and now it's as big as the globe Earth is supposed to be. It's just because it's endless. It's not bound. When you're in a globe, you're bound. You're stuck. That's it. There's no more, right? But it's endless. I know that my thoughts create my reality. Example, did you see the last video I put up about my how's my studio set up? I got everything on a
Yes.
cart, it goes right in a closet, right? I imagined that into existence.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people, your imagination creates your reality.
Yes, it does.
Right? So I thought and I imagined. And I'm like, wow, and I was like, you know what? I got Amazon. I could find the pieces that I needed that I couldn't find locally, and I put it all together, and and now it exists because of my imagination. But if you live on a ball, your imagination is stuck. If there's limits, there's too many people, there's not enough fuel. We're gonna, global warming, global cooling, asteroids are going to get us. The elite are too powerful. Once you take all of those limits and chains off of your mind, your consciousness expands. So my consciousness is expanding as fast as they say that the universe is expanding, which is 1 billion miles a minute, I think.
Wow, it's expanding quicker than the national debt, bro.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're the man.
Well, we're all that way. I mean, we were at Anarchapulco together. All of those minds there, they're
Yes.
open minds, except one. Open minds that were wanting more information to expand farther. Everybody was just like building and building onto their consciousness. That's what it was all about.
Yes.
And it was, it's like, and one thing that we all have in common is when you wake up, you want more.
Yes.
You want to learn more. You want to learn more. Like, can you ever be bored?
No.
No, it's impossible.
It is.
It's totally impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could stop thinking for a couple of minutes. I wish. I wish.
That's how I actually joke with my friends. I'll send them messages being like, oh, I just don't have anything to do today.
I try to turn my brain off when I go to sleep, and that's hard,
Yeah.
because in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. And I have to get up and write it down or something.
And that's the thing with the creatives, man. The creatives got the juice. It just happens. That level of charisma informs so many different things in your consciousness.
I think that we're here as a part of creation, as a part of God. We're all part of this, and we're here to expand the mind, expand thought, expand what this place is about. Mm-hmm. And just it's all about expansion and understanding what this place is, and really enjoying the ride. It's a great ride, whether mm-hmm. it's a simulation or not. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's some interesting stuff about that. I was listening to a girl on TikTok, and she makes these great rants, and she said she goes, there was this like crappy fast food joint, and there was a fry cook in the crappiest mall ever, and she's like, did somebody drop their resume to get that job? Or is that just like there's NPCs filling up all of the spaces that are needed to make this system go around?
Hmm.
It was very, no offense against anybody that's a fry cook or anything, but it's like everything has a place. Like everyone finds a place. Like everyone goes to college, whether you have the money or not. Oh,
Hmm.
of course, not in our realm because everyone's homeschooling now. That's awake and aware to the
Hmm.
scam of college. But they want you there to make the system work.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
I really believe that, everything has its time and place. And this is when the flat earth came into my consciousness, I was really ready for a paradigm shift. And there was nothing like, I would say, 9/11, flat earth, and then when the corona hit, those three things in a nice little 19-year period
Yeah.
were like crazy game changers. They were black swan events that I had no idea. I didn't see any of those three things coming.
9/11, that was pretty quick. And then the Connecticut event and the Boston Marathon event. Yeah, I saw through those really quick. But I remember when the CV hit, I was about to go on vacation for a couple of weeks. And I said, it'll be gone when I get back. I was
See?
wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
So,
wrong.
Dave, I know we have limited time here. You obviously have this wonderful app. Is this where people get it, at flatearthdave.com?
Letterdave.com. Yeah, that's where the app is. It's Android and Apple. Soon it'll be open source for anyone that's on F-Droid or any of those other platforms. Also, in a week or two, I keep saying that, but we keep running into little glitches. This is actually the Mac version. This is a version that you can load on your Mac as an app.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
yeah, which is super good. As I was showing you before, if you click on images and you like there's a like a lot of people are talking about the sun under the clouds because this preacher made this ridiculous video. Just type in sun under, and here are all the images that completely debunk the sun lighting up the bottoms of clouds. Like here, you can see that it's not lighting up the opaque clouds because it's above the clouds, and it's lighting up these clouds because these are translucent. The sun is above the clouds, but perspective puts it below the clouds.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't understand that. So all of that stuff, there's thousands of images on here now. The video search, which I showed you before, like someone says, where's maybe our old videos on here. I'll type in Topher. Let's see. There we are. There we are with Owen.
Yes.
All right. But I wouldn't even know where to find these videos anymore if it wasn't for the video search. So I'm excited about the video search. And it does a whole bunch of other things. This is if you like my shirt, you can just go to the shop and here's my t-shirt shop. And there's all other people's stuff, anything that's flat earth related. If you got something that's really cool, not clothing, that's flat earth related, let me know. If I like it, I'll put it in the shop for you. And then people can find cool stuff.
Do you do interviews, or do you only take interviews of other people?
No, I do interviews. I go on other people's shows.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying, will you interview somebody?
I will. I have. I just put it on my channel. My channel's big enough now where it's good, but I don't have a regular podcast. The problem is I like going on other people's shows because everyone that's subscribed to me, no offense, I don't care about you anymore. You already know the earth is flat. Okay. You're already here. My job is done. I need to go on the other shows where people think flat earth is the dumbest crap ever. And that's I'm all about bringing new people in. Like, hey, Dave, you want to go on this flat earth show? It's got 10,000 subs or 50 or 100,000 subs. And it's a flat earth channel. Or do you want to go on this other channel? It's got 1,200 subs, but they think flat earth is the dumbest thing ever. Sign me up. I'm in. Because anyone that thinks flat earth is the dumbest thing ever, they don't know their own model. They think that, we're a disk in space and then how does the sun set and the times, and it's all flat earth 101. It's the easiest stuff ever.
Right.
And so I'm getting on all kinds of different shows. I'm doing another high school. When is that coming up? In another week or two. I've been doing a lot of high school classes where they've been zooming me into their classes. They're talking about conspiracy theories. And I wake up the class. They're like, wait a minute. I thought this was a joke. I thought this guy coming on was a lunatic. And then another thing is when you're looking for high quality flat earth content providers. Now, we have the frequently asked questions page, which will answer all of your regular questions in all sorts of videos. But a lot of people over time, they're like, well, what's new? I want something new. I got this new button here that's not out yet. When it comes out, the next thing, it's a star with little Effie in it. These are notable flat Earth content creators on all different channels, some TikTok, on both, on X. And these are phenomenal, great stuff. So you just get stuck there. You'll be stuck all day watching and learning. Really cool stuff. And those are exclusively flat Earth channels. And there's all sorts of other stuff on there. The trivia game. Have you tried the trivia game yet?
No, I haven't.
It's super fun. It's trivia, and then you can play 1 to 4 players. You can play by yourself, or you can play up to 4 players, and it'll if I click it, it has a little as it warms up, and it brings up it's cool questions, and we add new questions in real time all the time. So if I go two players right here, how high do you have to be to see Earth's curvature? Okay. I don't think I think I think it's a horrible question because
You can't.
because there is no curvature, but this is according to the globe model. And the answer is, oh, there it is. I didn't even see that. I wasn't reading. I didn't see that. You can't see Earth's curvature. There you go. So that's that. It's fun, and it's a little break from I guess it's not really a break from learning because you learn. You know, you play it with your Glober friends, they'll learn stuff. You play it with your Flat Earth friends, you'll learn stuff. It's good for both.
That's wonderful. I looked up Decimal Z and I actually don't see it. It's giving me web. Is this a YouTube channel that you said, Decimal Z?
A YouTube channel, yeah.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, Decimal Z. It's that. It's Doctor. He used to be called Dr. Zach, and then he might even have the image of that on one of the videos. But I think it's the one where you'll see like some sundial type things on the thumbnail. I don't remember, but it's in there.
I'll definitely check it out. Thank you for
Yeah.
That's really wonderful. Have you seen? I don't know the name of their model. Has Jason Lindgren and Ronnie? I forget their name. The Awake Souls channel.
Jesus Christ. Sorry. Listen,
Literally.
I have one rule on the internet. You're not allowed to say their names because it literally kills brain cells. They are the two, in my opinion, the two dumbest guys on the internet. Their model is, I don't know. I can't even understand their model, but those guys are unbelievable. They've done 50 videos on me being a shill, a deceiver. I mean, worse than the worst trolls out there. So I don't even acknowledge their existence.
Well, I don't know them at all. I just had seen some of their models, and I was wondering when it came to well, I won't, since you don't actually want to talk about them.
No, go ahead. What was the question about it?
I was exposed to remote viewing, like actually doing remote viewing. And what was crazy in the remote viewing world is the map that they use doesn't have any scale. It uses a coordinate system that doesn't have any scale. And that was something that Jason Lindgren had brought up, was that I forget exactly what they called their model, but that model wasn't based on scale. So like when you're dealing with latitude and longitude lines, and you're dealing like with these different surface areas within a latitude longitude line, that doesn't actually match up, quote unquote, I mean, to what the map makers say. Like, you know, none of us can actually prove any of that out, because we can't go and like, you know, take square footage, square mileage of all this stuff. But that was a very interesting thing. That was like a little tick for me, because I was like, you know, in the remote viewing world, and I was exposed to it from a US military general. So it wasn't like some bullshit workshop.
I think it's real. I've seen examples of it. Jaron did a test on his show, some remote viewing, and they did two tests. And one of them was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And the next one, they're like, there's no way that they could have got this. And he did it like triple blind, and it was actually quite amazing. So one of the girls in the flat Earth community, who was it? It's based on who it was, but she was actually quite good at it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is I have direct experience with it also, where I know its effectiveness, and so I don't doubt it because it's my own personal experience. But what was nuts is in the military, when they do it, they use a map system that doesn't, like a coordinate system that isn't to scale. And that's in Jason's the only person I've ever seen to talk about that. He didn't bring it from the military perspective. He says that the model that they use doesn't have scale, which was really kind of cool. With the international date line, right before you hit, I think it's the international date lines right in between, is it right in between Papua New Guinea and in Australia?
I don't think, is it? Is that where it is?
It's like, it's some that line that's a very mysterious area in the world. So that's one of the reasons why I gave a little bit of consideration to well, there's two reasons: the international date line, and also the fact that their mapping system that they used didn't have scale like the remote viewers that I knew. Because that's a very mysterious area where you have that transition of time that I don't know if this azimuthal equidistant map could explain it. I'm personally more on the scale of like thinking that this is a very, very supernatural place that we live that's appearing physical. So
That I'm down with that, but if you think about it, for time zones, you should have, if the Earth is a ball, you should have 24 sections, like on an orange, from North Pole to the South Pole. It should be 24 straight lines or curved lines, and that's it. And the Earth spins, and there's your time zones. That's what it should be, but that's not what we see. And then also, when you look, the Earth is tilted. If the sun rays are coming in, that would mean that the time zones, the sun would go like this across all of these time zones. So it's nighttime here, 1, 2, 3, 4 time zones away on the same longitude. It's 4 hours different, which doesn't make sense. If you take a flat Earth map and wrap it around a ball, it's all crumpled up at the bottom because you have all that extra paper. You have all that extra space that has to go somewhere. But what they do is, did you know that in the South, where is it? In the South, there's 32 time zones. There's 19 time zones in the north, 24 in the tropics, and 32 in the south.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
That accounts for that. That makes okay. Now things are starting to make more sense.
Right. And then you've heard me talk about a Kiribati, right? And
No.
You don't know about Kiribati?
No.
Everyone knows about Kiribati. Come
Well,
on.
hit me up, bro.
All right. So we'll go over this. It takes a minute. Let me just find it. Where is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Where is it? There it goes. Okay. So you can go on ship tracking sites and you can say, all right, where's this cargo ship? And there's, cruise ship trackers, cargo ship trackers, and you click on any one of these dots. They'll give you all the information you need, where it's registered, who the captain is, where they're going, how long they've been at sea, and everything. Right. So just keep that in mind. Right. And then, let's go back here. So we saw a ship inside of the shoreline of Antarctica, 730 miles. How did it get there? Right? 730 miles. Zoom out a little bit. We saw a ship 905 miles in. That's like way deep inside Antarctica. How did a working ship get there? And it's supposedly 2.37 miles above sea level. So if that was a ravine, that's got 2.5-mile walls.
Right.
Okay. Which is crazy. That's crazy. So there's a ship. What's it doing in it? It says it's a fishing ship. So we go here. So here is the old map that they found in a Buddhist temple. It's 10 centuries old, supposedly, and it's got all of these continents out there. So if they wrap this around a ball, all of this would be wedged into what they call Antarctica, where we're not allowed to go. All right. So here is, so we clicked on one of the ships and said, where is it from? And all it says is it's at 50 meters long, 80 meters wide. It's gigantic. And it's from the nation of Kiribati. Where's Kiribati? It's in the middle of nowhere. You literally couldn't see it until you zoom in on it. And America and China gave them like 10 or 11 billion dollars each recently. What's going on this island? They say it's a very important trade route. What? Why would you need to stop here? Why would you need to stop here?
Could you zoom out?
Right?
I didn't see where it was. Zoom out just a tad.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
So
right? This is the South Pacific.
Yeah,
out there in the Pacific. Yeah, go on Google Earth, everybody. Go out to the South Pacific in the middle, zoom in, and you'll start seeing these little islands pop up as you get closer and closer. Go and look closely. Look at what's there. Look how the trees are planted. Look at where the houses are. Look, just it's mind-blowing what's out there. These people could be a whole nother civilization that we don't even know about, right? Mm-hmm. And, or maybe that's where Michael Jackson and Jeffrey what's his name, Epstein are hanging out. Who knows, right? So keep that in mind, right? On Kiribati Island, one of the listeners said there's a Captain Cook hotel. Captain Cook's the guy that tried to circumnavigate Antarctica. It went 68,000 miles. So maybe that's just somebody that's obsessed with Captain Cook. That's all right. All right. And then if we look at the ships that were that were actually docking there on their massive friggin' pier, which you can't get a good Google Earth shot because it has a cloud right over it all the time. You can never see what's exactly there. And all of the ships' names, all of their destinations were unknown or Christmas Island. That's weird. Some people say Kiribati is called Christmas Island. But there's some other Christmas islands. And if you know all the stuff about Christmas and Santa and Satan and, so just suspicious, right? Take it a little farther. They did all this nuke testing. You read about Kiribati, all you read about is they did nuke testing and trying to scare you away. One of the soldiers said he put his hands over, he was recounting, he put his hands over his face and he could see the bones in his fingers. This is what he said. Mm-hmm. Like Bugs Bunny. Okay. Right. I mean, like, no, I don't care how much radiation. You're not going to see the bones in your fingers. Right. And then it shows this picture, right? They're doing, if you were here and a nuclear bomb was going off over here, would you just be moseying around? Nope. No one's even looking. No one's running. No one's hitting the deck. No one's staring. No one's turning away. Everyone's just doing their thing. And that doesn't look like a nuclear bomb to me. It looks like, it looks like nothing. Right. And then, of course, they show this. This picture has been used a million times for nukes. Right. So getting the time zones, right? We're almost done here. This is that crazy time zone mm-hmm. At the dateline. Right. And if we look at it, it does this crazy thing, goes across 3.5 time zones. And what's in the most suspicious spot of all?
Kiribati.
Kiribati. What does that mean? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Right. But what do I think all of this is? Well, what if Kiribati, what if it is an important trade route and it's from here out to the outer lands?
It is.
Maybe there's ships going out there and maybe they're trading tuna fish, weapons, technology, computer chips, children. Who knows? We don't know. But I have a video on this. It's called How Would You Know? Because you never even heard about Kiribati until this conversation right here. There could be other places too. There could be a whole bunch of places with ships going to the outer lands.
Incredible.
Now, we just want the right to go explore. And the fact that we keep seeing lines of ships in spots where they shouldn't be tells us that something is not right. And the fact that nobody can cross Antarctica, is ridiculous. No one goes to Antarctica. Oh, wait a minute. There was a world record. I forget the name. They went from they went north to south circumnavigation or south north circumnavigation, right? So they went from here. This is allegedly North Pole. Or actually, they're going this way. So start here, America. You go up, and they go to North Pole. And they go here, and they go all the way down Madagascar, and then here, and they go around. And that's circumnavigation to a glober. That's what circumnavigation on a globe looks like. Let me make it so you can see a little better. What is going on here? Get rid of that. All right. So, okay, cool. Let's see what that looks like on a flat Earth map. Ready? That's it. That's all they did.
Hmm.
That's all they did. They just flew here. And they said, we went north to south. This is all they did. And Globers would like, yep, they circumnavigated. They went across South Pole to the North Pole. This is how stupid people are.
Hmm.
I'm sorry for calling people stupid, but sometimes I just get fed up. Is there a better word? Is there a better word? Ignorant?
Ignorant. They're ignorant.
Ignorant. Yes, they're ignorant. And by the way, we're all ignorant to anything that we don't know.
In the South, they pronounce it ignorant.
Ignorant. They're ignorant. If you
They're
don't know
ignorant.
something, you're ignorant to it.
Exactly.
Right? That's it. So this is all that there is. So anyone that keeps sending me this, look, they've gone around, put it on a flat earth map. This is not circumnavigation. You know what circumnavigation? This here and then popping up over here without crossing the middle. That's circumnavigation, but it'll never happen because it doesn't exist.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. I actually interviewed a gentleman that runs the Antarctic. I guess back then he did a dozen different times going down to Antarctica, and he said like within I think it was within 60 miles of Antarctica, they would have a military escort reach them. And then the captain was subsumed by a military captain every time.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no, and the Glober's like, there's nothing that stops you. You can go to Antarctica. We've tried. Austin has been trying, and it's like $250,000 in permit fees, and they keep them, and they just say, no, you can't go.
You can't. They,
Yeah.
they only give those to very few people, and those few people are always military escorted.
Right. And just for anybody that looking for more information, if you click Antarctica and the 24-hour sun on the frequently asked question page, up will come a list of videos, and there's a great video in there called "Sorry, Antarctica is Closed."
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of our lawyers, Taboo Conspiracy, who's a lawyer. He spent he must have spent a year looking up all the information that they compiled into a 35-minute video that will show you that it is pointless to say, let's go to Antarctica. You can go to Antarctica. You can go and spend 10, 20, $30,000. And they'll show you some ice, and they'll take you to the little tip. They take you the little tip that sticks out, you know?
Yeah. And they won't let you be on the ice for more than 2 hours. He told me that you can only go in the most for you can only go inland 2 kilometers. If there's any change in weather, they cancel the inland tour.
Yeah. So when you go, if this was, let's just say this is how the earth is set up, you literally go to this little island right here. There. It's called Rothschild Island or Deception Island. Those are the two places they take you.
Literally,
that's what they're called: Rothschild Island and Deception Island. And the funny thing is, you know, if the Earth was set up like this, let me just go map. Was set up like this, and they took you from here to the center of this island or continent right here. So we get to the shoreline right here. Now look at this. This is bigger than America, Mexico, and Canada combined. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you pulled up here and they go, you're at Antarctica, how would you know? How would you know that it's a continent and there's more? You wouldn't know anything because you couldn't see anything because you're right here. Literally, if you pulled up to the South Shore of Long Island and they told you this is the whole world, how would you know that California exists? You wouldn't know anything.
It's true.
People say, I've been to Antarctica, therefore the Earth is a globe. No, you've been to Antarctica, therefore you've been to Antarctica.
Exactly. A place called Antarctica.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily match the idea that they've been selling you.
Right. It's a bit crazy. It's crazy. And have you looked into the moon map?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I was going to ask you about that plasma imprinting of that.
Well, people say it's a photograph, a reflection. I don't know if that's the right word. I think that it's I think we're all part of the same living system, just like your cells are the same as some of my cells, and as far as monkey cells, and even some celery cells, right? There's so much in common. There's so much genetic in common that the moon is part of this living system. So there's something to this that needs more investigation. Again, there's too many coincidences here for me to say that it's crap. I think that there's a lot of validity to it.
I completely I completely agree because the moon plays, like I've done many a podcast about the different phases of the moon and how that plays on physiology, psychology. And just imagine, like, say you have a lunar phase where the side that we're on is actually illuminated. How does that actually play out with our agriculture relative to the moon phase where the other side, the other part of the realm is illuminated? If this is an accurate depiction of what the whole Terra is.
It's fascinating. The whole thing is super fascinating.
I love it, man. Like you said, it's an infinite expansion to what you can actually start to contemplate.
100%. So, anything else?
Mr. Flat Earth Dave, thank you for coming on. I'm going to send people your direction. This has been very illuminating for me, and I really appreciate it.
I have a challenge for anyone that's laughing at flat Earth. 3 Bitcoins. If you can get the app every day, there's a featured video right here, hiding behind my shoulder, and watch that every day for 2 weeks while you're having your coffee, cup of tea. Watch it. At the end of the 2 weeks, if you can send me one proof it's a globe, you win 3 Bitcoins. That's $210,000 as of today. And yeah, but I have no fear. I feel bad making the bet because I know the Earth isn't a globe, so there's no way you're going to be able to prove it. So, but I could just be a crazy man saying crazy things. So take my Bitcoin and prove me wrong, and then I could give up all of this, and maybe my family will start talking to me again. My extended family, my brother and sister.
Well, Dave, it was wonderful to meet you in person. It's even better to talk to you here in this venue, and I will send this to you as soon as it's up.
All right, no problem. And the app, by the way, is $3 one-time charge. There is a subscription if you want to message people and do some of the higher functions. Like there's a whole friend finder on there and profiles and all sorts of stuff. That's $11 a year. $11 a year, but you can refer the app to people using your referral code, which is up in this button. And if you get 11 points, you can trade it in for a year subscription. So I make it easy for everybody. The reason I charge for that is because it costs me money when you use it.
Yes.
Right. So these are the people that are around me, and I can send out a broadcast message. We're having a meetup. 80 people showed up last time we did that.
Awesome.
It was an awesome, it was literally an event. And there's 132,000 people on it, which is growing every day. This is the whole world here. Pretty cool. So there you go.
You got lots of Florida man.
Yeah, Florida's getting there. There's people all over the place. Bermuda, everywhere.
There's concentration in Missouri here. That's good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Well,
so there you go.
Great to see you. I just hear my little girl and my wife walking in, so I'm gonna bug on out.
All right, man. Have a great day. See you. FlatEarthDave.com. If anyone has a show that they think I should be on or they want me on, reach out through FlatEarthDave.com. Book Flat Earth Dave, and let's talk. Let's talk to some new people.
Awesome, Dave. Thank you so much.
You ought to know. Well, now you ought to know by now. You ought to know. Well, now you ought to know by now.
Ladies and gents, that was David Weiss, Flat Earth Dave. My goodness, does that man got some good energy going. I really appreciate Dave. And yeah, I look forward to a consistent conversation. You know, he and I guess, God, I saw his Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole podcast in 2014 or 2015. He was on my podcast back then. And yeah, it's just been great to have him in the background, always like feeding me like little tidbits of things to look at. You know, he introduced me to Owen Benjamin, which was wonderful. And yeah, just good sense of humor, good times. This realm that we're in is pretty wonderful. We live, if I the title of this podcast was Scalar North. And for those of you out there that haven't come across the work of John Bedini, I would say pick up all of the work of his that you can. On the internet now, they're kind of scrubbing him from the internet because he was consistently showing how to create devices that used etheric energy. He was like me. He kind of trained me not to say free energy, because there isn't such a thing as free energy, but there are over unity devices, meaning you can create something that has more output energy than input energy. He was, my goodness, like, what president was it? Andrew Jackson, that they shot 3 times. Bedini was that dude in the energy world. Like, literally, they took him out once, and then they like burned down his shop, and then he rebuilt another shop, and then they got him in that shop. Like, the dude just wouldn't die. And I love the fact that he wasn't pretentious. He and Eric Dollard had this way. He's much more, I guess you would say, non-autistic Eric Dollard. Eric Dollard's excellent in his knowledge base, but can be a little on the autism spectrum. I found Bedini stuff I could actually create, I could actually make, just with a little bit of knowledge of winding motors for remote control cars. And he put things in terms that I could understand as a novice, not as somebody that was an electrician per se. So it's a fun world out there. Let's just put it this way. If you were to dedicate yourself to learning basic wiring, learning the difference between different types of, let's just call them transistors and capacitors, and switching mechanisms with them, you'd start to understand a lot of what, Tesla was talking about, what Bedini was talking about. And then you'll slows down, it gains inertia. Inertia means slowing down. And we slow down, and then we get to experience physicality. And the model that Dave propounds is that we're essentially like this little pond within this much bigger realm. And our particular pond has a sun and a moon and yada yada. You heard it in the podcast. And I don't know if that's that. Where I'm coming from is that we definitely live on something that appears flat. And I know that we're not on a globe spinning. We're not in the billiard ball cosmos, as it's been explained to us, the last 100 years or so. Things are actually much, much, much more local to us, and our axis mundi, our spinal column, essentially determines a lot of what we experience around us. Just ask an Ashtanga yogi that's been practicing for 10 years. Their pliability in their spine and their capacity to move energy through the spine creates a much different experience than, say, a stiff old Midwesterner that hasn't ever has a hard time tying their shoes because their spine is so stiff. There's a lot of difference with what we all experience. And I'm really happy that is now starting to spread out into the greater collective mind, at least in the information circles that I am aware of. Because it's really important not to project our own BS onto people. People have a very different experience, and it's very hard to misappropriate attributes to certain things that we experience and project them onto other people. It is a misappropriation. It isn't correct to do that. That's why the creditor always is asking questions, because the creditor does not assume that they know where you're coming from. which is the correct position to be in, the correct honorable position to be in. So in this ending of a podcast, this epilogue at the, I don't know if it's an epilogue or whatever, however you would term it, you kind of see where one thing begets the other, begets the other, begets the other. Like if you have the correct model, then you can have the correct cosmology. The correct cosmology actually correctly reflects, like, you know, the physics of the realm. And then that all correctly, you know, informs behavior. So this is the beauty of our realm, is that it can be known, and God wants us to know him in that way, and he wants to know his creation through our eyes in the subjective way. So keep on keeping on, Biocharismites. If you like what I'm doing, you can support me. There's donations tab at topherhq.com. I'm doing celestic profiles. I've done a bunch now over the last 5 years, and the process is being more and more refined, and people are really getting a good kick out of it. To be able to see yourself as your original imprint, which is your conception, your conception chart, is a remarkable thing, especially if you're over the age of 30. And then to correctly be able to read your birth chart, and know the appropriate geometries, not the law of average geometries, that helps also. It just gets you, when you're not in resistance to who you actually are, then life really kind of takes off. So that's the whole point of me doing it. So I really appreciate your guys' support. You can contact me at info@topherhq.com. I have a buy me a coffee thing, buy me a coffee, or the whole thing with, what's the other one? Oh, I have an analog super chat. The thing is down there, the 402 Willow Springs address. And yeah, guys, I have a bunch of stuff coming up when it comes to like the holographic nature of our reality. That's undeniable. Like 40 years of photographic experience coming up in the next podcast. Just have had excellent people to interview. I have the big man Jason Brashears is coming on. We're going to talk cosmology, like something serious. He's the only other person out there that I'm aware of that uses the palindromic model that I use in my astrology. The palindrome is a big deal. Christopher Knowles dropped like a huge nugget of truth in Tenet. Like there was, like, to have that movie come out when it did, and the way it was made is just like, it's an exceptional truth drop. So yeah, good stuff. I really look forward to sharing more with you. I will be doing a live stream as soon as I can. I'm trying to not step on the toes of all my buds. Chan's Garten over there has Wednesday and Monday nights locked down. BB's up all the time. I got my girl Emily Moyer. She's doing her things on Tuesday. Marty's gonna come back on Tuesday. I don't know. Maybe we'll do like Monday evening quarterback with Topher. Monday evening kicker live stream. Because yeah, I don't know when I'm not going to step on somebody else's toes, but yeah, I really been enjoying the podcasting community and all the great content that's being put out there, and I hope you guys are supporting what you love. So I look forward to seeing you next week, and we like I said, you can contact. Oh, I forgot the Telegram chat. Hit up the Telegram chat. It's fire right now. Like we have like 820 people on there, and like literally, like everything is being shared there. So go there and enjoy. And I look forward to hearing from you guys there. Talk to you soon.